I've come from miles away. Ain't got no place to stay. Hello, hello. My name is Bruce, and welcome to the Cat Golf Show. If you're still here after that intro, thank you. If you've not been keeping track of my channel, then you wouldn't know, I guess. Then you wouldn't know that I have been reviewing the Beach Boys albums, every single album in their discography. In the first video, I reviewed their early discography, which is from 1962 until 1969. In the second video, I reviewed their middle discography from 1970 until 1979. And in this video, the final video, I will be reviewing their late discography, which is 1980 to 2012. As I said in my previous video, their late discography is pretty controversial. It's according to not even just the fans of the Beach Boys, but to like critics, music reviewers, it is some of their worst material. Now, what do I make of it? Largely, I have to agree. This video was much later coming out than I anticipated it to be because I have been listening to, I've made a playlist after going through the middle and early discographies. I made a playlist of the best Beach Boys music, just the singles, songs, whatever. So it's a playlist full of their best songs, like my favorite songs of theirs. And I've just been listening to that nonstop since then. So, I mean, thanks to you guys in this video for making me listen to their music, more thoroughly, I guess. Not that I haven't listened to it thoroughly. I don't know, what that means. But I've just been listening to that. And their good songs are so good that I'm just like I said, it's been on repeat pretty much since I made those videos. So I was hesitant to go into their later stuff because I know that it's questionable. And unfortunately, I learned that it indeed is questionable material. So they're late technically. I just want to point this out again before I continue. I have my my scroll as usual. Their late albums, technically there's 6 late albums, but with one of those albums being just a country reissue of some of their most popular songs. So I believe the album is called Stars and Stripes Volume 1, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And it's basically just famous country singers singing Beach Boys famous songs, like their most popular songs. It's a covers album. Didn't care to hear a country remaster of 409. Just not interested. So I cut that one out. So technically, there's only 5 albums in this section that I reviewed. I feel like it's going to be a tight video today. I don't plan on lingering too much just because there's so few albums, and I don't have a ton to say about most of them just because, as you'll learn, it was kind of a rough listen. But let's just jump right into it, as Philly D says. Okay. For the first one, we've got Keeping the Summer Alive, 1980. This album was pretty decent. It was decent, and I rated it a solid 6 out of 10. What did I think about this album? Okay, so we got a couple songs that I liked here. Keeping the Summer Alive, obviously the title track was pretty good. Some of Your Love, that was a good song as well. Living Without a Heartache, that was a great song actually. I really like that one. It's interesting because it's sort of a country song. It's country sounding. It's more folksy country sounding. The guitars and such on it. It's pretty long too. It's about 5 minutes, and it doesn't really evolve. So it's sort of a repetitive song. Like I can't think of the melody off the top of my head. And I wouldn't sing it for you after putting you through the intro to this video, but it's sort of repetitive, but at the same time, it's catchy enough to the point where I can overlook it. I'll give it a pass for that reason, but it's good. Going On, another good song, and then we have Endless Harmony, which is the closing track to the album. So a couple of good songs here. They for these later albums, they're like obsessed with naming their songs with abbreviations, like Keepin' with an apostrophe at the end, Livin' with an apostrophe at the end, Goin' with an apostrophe. I don't understand what that naming convention is. It's very 80s. I should also note that this time period of their songs really marks a very noticeable shift in their sound. So up until this point, they've been somewhat like for their early discography, they've been very consistent in the way that they sounded. It was more of a summery, beachy sound. And then, as they got to Pet Sounds and every album onward, they switched their sound up to more Baroque. The instrumentation was more organic. It was more natural, orchestral. Their later stuff, excuse me, their later stuff is not as the instrumentation is not as organic sounding, is not as orchestral as their early stuff or in their middle stuff, to be honest. It's very synthy, and you'll find that on the next one I talk about here in a moment. It's very synthy. It sounds very much more mainstream. Like the recordings of their older records, you could hear the what is it called? Like the static in the background. You could hear the white noise in the background. But these songs are very polished. The sound is very clean compared to their other stuff, and I would actually count that against them. I would say that kind of goes against what made them iconic in the first place, what made me like a lot of their early stuff. But with that being said, not too much to say about these. The songs, decently catchy, 6 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good. Okay, now we have The Beach Boys, 1985. This album was bad. This album was not good. It was a 3 out of 10 for me. In my margins, my notes here, I wrote Stevie Wonder ? Because it turns out he did have some involvement on this album, specifically I Do Love You, which is a good song. It is one of the best songs. I think I only liked 3 songs on this album. That is one of the 3 that I liked. It's probably my favorite. Really, really good, but it sounds like a Stevie Wonder song. That's why I like it, because it doesn't sound like a Beach Boys song. And that's what's so sad about their later albums, is just they don't sound like Beach Boys records. I wrote 80s synth pop, Phil Collins, generic. Because it's like all these songs sound, they're not good. Most of them are not good songs, to be honest. They're not interesting at all. But the good songs, they sound like Phil Collins. It's very synthy. It's like dramatic. It's like what I imagine would play at like an 80s disco or something. It's, like I said, the orchestration is not there. The instrumentation is very different. And for that reason, it doesn't really feel reminiscent of the Beach Boys. And I'm not saying that a band can't change up their sound. I usually like when bands do that, or at least I don't always like it, but I like when bands are brave and experimental. And the Beach Boys, I did laud them for that in the previous video, I believe, or the one before that. I was like, I like that they take risks and they're experimental with their sound. But I think this is during the height of Brian's mental turmoil, and Mike sort of took charge of the band at this point, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. And I just don't like what their sound changed to. And I think somewhere in here, Carl and Dennis, Brian's brothers, they passed away. Not at the same time, but around the similar time. And I feel like their vocals especially added a lot to the Beach Boys songs. So I'm like, I'm trying to train my ears to listen to recognize the different vocals of the different band members. So Mike is pretty distinctive. I can usually recognize when he sings a song, and I usually get Carl and Brian confused. Sometimes when they're singing, I'm like, I can't tell who it is, singing. So, but I feel like Carl and Dennis, their vocals they're sort of raspy and they're raw, and they're beautiful though. But they really sing. They have great voices. A little better than Brian's voice, to be honest. Brian he would more prefer to write the songs, not necessarily sing on all of them, with exceptions, of course. But yeah, they brought a lot to the band. And I feel like when they passed away and they stopped contributing, it impacted the band definitely. So for top songs, It's Getting Late, another apostrophe in there. Crack at Your Love, and then I Do Love You, which is my favorite song. I can't even recall the other ones as much as I can. I Do Love You. It's just a good song. But it's like I said, Stevie Wonder, I think he played piano on it. He played some instrument on it. And it sounds like he does backup vocals on it too, to be honest. There's like, during the chorus, there's someone in the background saying, I do love you. And it sounds like Stevie Wonder, and I could be wrong. It could be someone doing an impression, but, whatever. Okay. Moving on to the next one here, we got Still Cruisin', another apostrophe, 1989. And you'll notice also the albums here are spread out. Like there's 4 and 5 years between each of these albums. They were not producing nearly as much music. They were not nearly as prolific, and I think that, again, has to do with Brian's mental turmoil. I think this is when he was really, really going through it. So yeah, we got Still Cruisin', 1989. Awful album, 1 out of 10. Bad, just bad. Bad, dull, uninteresting, very boring. Tacked on songs at the end. There's a couple of songs at the end that I'm pretty sure were from other albums. I think they added like maybe California Girls and something else to the end of this one. I could be wrong about that, but I was like, why did they do that? Like, why would they tack on the songs? But yeah, it just I don't even know what to say. Like the only song I liked from this album was Kokomo, and that's a single. Everyone knows Kokomo, and it was just like I like it because it's a single. Like there's nothing redeeming about the album. It's just like so uninteresting to me. I have nothing to say about it. It was just boring. I was listening to it and I was actively rolling my eyes because I was like, shit, man, this sucks. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Summer in Paradise, 1982. Now this is, I'm pretty sure this is Mike's album. I think it was supposed to also be an album about conservation, like nature conservation or something. Also, another very, very bad album, 1 out of 10. Not a Beach Boys sound at all. Boring, synth, garb. That's what I wrote. We've got Still Surfin' and Lahaina Aloha, I believe. 2 songs, and I can't even recall them. It was like, I heard them, and I wouldn't even say that necessarily I like these songs. It's just that they were better than the other songs that I absolutely hated. So, and I don't usually feel that strongly about their music, but it's like, compared to what came before, like 2020, Wild Honey, like those albums are so fucking good, and their songs are stuck in my head, like they're so good. Compared to those, it's just like it's so sad to see them fall from grace in this way. So yeah, Summer in Paradise, not a good album, 1 out of 10. Very, very, very unfortunate. Okay, now we got the final one. This is the final Beach Boys album. That's Why God Made the Radio, 2012. Very modern release. You know, it came out not too long ago, relatively speaking. But my main critiques with this one were that Brian's vocals were very auto-tuned throughout this entire record. It doesn't sound like the Beach Boys at all. Auto-tune, artificial sounding, and it's almost like what they did with Smiley Smile, in my opinion. It's sanitized. Their sound is sanitized. It's unrecognizable. They've become so mainstream sounding. It's unrecognizable. If I were to hear this and not know that it was a Beach Boys record, I don't know that I would think it was a Beach Boys record. I gave this album a 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10. That's Why God Made the Radio. Title track is a pretty good song. Isn't It Time? Another catchy song. We got Spring Vacation. Another catchy song, and then we got Shelter, which I mostly added because it has harpsichord on it. So if a song has a harpsichord on it, you know, I add it to the list because it's good. But Shelter is a decent song. It's a decent song. This album is just like, yeah, it doesn't sound like the Beach Boys to me. It's very boring, very auto-tuned, very artificial sounding, and it's quite disappointing to know that that's the final Beach Boys record, you know, after they've, came so far in terms of music and sound, and they evolved their sound so much in those middle sections, and then sort of went out with a squeal here, with a squeak. So yeah, this officially concludes me ranking all the Beach Boys records here. This was, like I said, this video is pretty quick, but let me know if you want me to do other album rankings, because I am interested in doing more. Like, I'm a big Radiohead fan. Woo, shout out to my Radiohead fans, but they're not nearly as prolific in terms of like albums released as Beach Boys. Obviously, they released like 29 albums, I think, something like that. That series would just probably be one video of me just reviewing all the Radiohead records that that exist. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. I think I'd be interested in doing that potentially. I don't know how many people would be interested in that. I actually got my first dislike, and it's on my previous Beach Boys ranking video, where I talk about their early stuff. So I'm like, I wonder if, like I said in that video, that some of the boomers, the old timers, were like, fuck this kid, he doesn't know what he's talking about. The old Beach Boys records are amazing. Dislike. I wonder if I don't actually know if that happened or not. But yeah, let me know if you guys want me to do more album rankings. I have, believe it or not, despite my griping and groaning, I did have fun with this. I did have a good time recording these, listening to these records, and I found some great songs through it that I otherwise probably would not have gone back and listened to had I not done these videos. So, as always, thank you so much, dear viewer, for watching. I appreciate the views. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. As always. Ta-ta.